everybody. Welcome back to the Y'all Are Crazy Ranch podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about starting your new year off right. And we are actually recording this on January 2nd. So we are right into the new year, and we're going to talk about it today.
Yep. Yesterday was the new year, and we're going to focus a lot of the conversation today on setting goals for yourself. And I think some people, there's two camps, people that say New Year's resolutions aren't any good and you shouldn't even bother. Then there's the camp that is like, always sets New Year's resolutions and goals and stuff for the new year. And I think I would encourage you to belong to the camp of setting new goals. You can have a little bit of a negative mindset and say it's just another day or, what does it matter? But I think having, whether you want to call it like artificial deadlines and artificial kind of restarts or reboots, I think that stuff can be very valuable if you let it.
Yeah, definitely. And for us, I think it's very important for us to teach our kids how to set New Year's goals and how to achieve those. So we'll also be sharing with you what we did with our kids yesterday to help them set goals for the new year.
Yeah, and I got one little hot tip that I'll share that I did. I think this might have been the first time I've done it, but on New Year's Day, I took out my journal and then I pulled up my calendar and I went all the way back to January of 2025. Yeah. And I just looked through each week and then just wrote down in my journal like some highlights and then I had a list of about 30 things.
Yeah. And you could do that with your phone calendar even if that's what you use. Yeah. Because you forget so many things that you did.
There's a lot of things on there that I was like, oh yeah, that was a big deal. Or, oh, that was okay. Yeah, that was in 25. I thought that was longer ago.
Right.
And it was just kind of a neat exercise to go through and write out everything that you did, reflect on last year, kind of have a little bit of a grateful moment too, of some gratefulness of things that we've done. And anyway, so that's a cool thing to do. I would encourage you to do it if you haven't. And
I thought that was a good idea. And we got to look back at like, hey, one of our sons got baptized. We dedicated our baby.
Yeah.
And things that you were just like, oh, I forgot we did that. And that was a really big deal. Yeah. And some things run together because you're like, was that last year? Was it the year before? So that was very helpful.
Yeah, it was cool. So, and then we worked on setting goals.
Yes. So the morning. So for New Year's Eve, back up a minute. For New Year's Eve, our kids wanted to celebrate New Year's Eve. However, there's no way we were letting them all stay up till midnight.
No.
So we did New Year's Eve celebration at 9 p.m.
Yep.
And for that, I got them all little cute headbands that said Happy New Year. And everybody got apple juice. And we did a countdown. And we did a cheers and a New Year's apple juice drink. And we said we read our Bible story, which is Proverbs, and said a prayer before the evening. And so that was our New Year's Eve celebration.
Yeah.
And then I did let our oldest two stay up and watch a movie with me. So we stayed up and watched a movie that night. So that was New Year's Eve. New Year's Day, we said, okay, kids, here's what we're doing. First thing, everybody get a paper and a pencil, go to a separate area and write down at least 5 goals that you have for 2026.
Yeah, and that was fun to watch their little brains start to work. Some of them were writing, like Benaiah was writing on the paper and his words were really big. Barlow wrote, and his words were like, letters were like that big.
Well, and they didn't know how to spell a lot of things. So I'm like, because Dad was already done with his goals because you wrote them the night before, I think.
Yeah.
So I was like, let Dad help you spell these things.
And it was funny too, with your kids, just let them write their own goals, and don't, they are what they are. Let them.
You can help them too, but it
is
fun.
One of Benaiah's goals was to brush my teeth, morning and night every day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of funny, but I'm like, hey, for whatever, a 7-year-old, hey, that's a great goal.
That's a great goal.
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny because I wasn't expecting that to be on a goal list. But, with little kids, you just never know what they're going to write down. Yeah.
No, and a lot of our boys and daughter, actually, a lot of them revolved around sports. So just to share a few things that they wrote, we let them all write separately, and then we all came together around the round table and said, okay, everybody share your goals. You need to have at least 5. Some of them had 5, and I think Bowen had 15.
Yeah.
So they all shared. And like you said, our little two that can actually write, 5 and 7, theirs were very age appropriate.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to brush my teeth morning and night. Barlow's, he's 5, he wants to learn to read this year. Well, that's a big deal.
That's a good goal.
Uh-huh. And then some of their goals were funny because they're like, I want to get a medal at the wrestling tournament this weekend.
I gave them that one.
Yeah.
You know, they were kind of struggling on what to write, you know, and I was like, well, do you want to get a medal this weekend? And they're like, yeah, you know, so we wrote that down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just trying to get them writing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then our bigger kids, 9, 11, and 13, you know, obviously they have more life experience, so they understood the exercise a little more, and theirs were a little more in depth.
Right.
So our daughters was like, make the cheer team again. You know, some things for basketball she wants to do, some things for school she wants to do. And she had some good goals, but they were very age appropriate. Like I said, Bowen, he had like 15 goals, and a lot of his were revolved around how many books he wants to read this year. He challenged himself with that. And I think all the kids were that they wanted to read their Bible every day. They wanted to read their devotional every night, which I loved seeing that. We really encourage our kids to read books and to read their Bible every day.
Yeah, and Bradley, I think, wrote, like, she wants to read, I think, 15 books.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I think that's really cool.
Something we gifted our kids with was the collection of the Tuttle Twins books. And we gifted those to them on New Year's Day. And I don't know if the boys told you, but they've already been, like, powering through these books.
Yeah, I think Baker told me this morning he's already read 2 of them.
And he's not our biggest reader.
Right.
So what I'm liking about these books is they're really packed full of faith, family, and freedom.
Yeah.
So it teaches them a lot about how our country was founded, but in ways that are interesting to kids. It tells stories and relates it to today. And it's a faith-based curriculum that makes kids love their country and their Christian heritage. So
Yeah.
loving it so far.
Full of patriotism, not anti-Americanism.
Yeah, so they've been
Yes,
great.
it's great.
I actually got a Black Friday sale. This was like $1,000 book set. It was a lot of books, and I got it for like $200. So I don't know. It was great.
Yeah.
So we're trying to really pour into the kids. Like, hey, most people probably wouldn't spend $200 on books for their kids, but for us, if we can get our kids reading good quality books, that's worth it to me. I would
yeah.
much rather spend that on a book bundle than like a Nintendo Switch or, Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
I think
And
that's
that kind
more
of stuff
valuable.
carries on to adult life, and we've talked about that on other shows, but people don't read anymore. It's sad when I go into public and I see grown men playing Candy Crush and what other games that they have on their phones, and I'm like, what are you doing? You could be reading a good book, or you could be engaged with your kids at that moment when they're right in front of you. But it's just sad that, like, that's what our culture teaches is games and, stuff that, like, makes you mentally check out. And we're trying to help our kids, mentally check in. You know what I
Right.
mean? And books allow you to do that and grow your mind and your thinking. And
Well, what's amazing for your kids is if you're a reader, they will emulate that. They will want to read because they don't know any different. So they see us read a lot and we talk about what we've read and things like that. So they just automatically know that you should read.
yeah, so that's good.
I also think it's important, like, for your kids to see you actually reading your Bible. That's another reason I'm such a big proponent of, like, books. Because if you just say, oh, I just read on my Kindle, or I listen to books, or I just read the Bible app on my phone, well, you're just looking at a screen all the time, and your kids see that too. But when you actually have a book in your hand, it feels different, it looks different, and it goes into your mind differently.
Well, there's studies that show that, and I have, people that they'll ask me for a book recommendation. I'll give it to them. I'll follow up with them a few months later. Hey, did you read the book? Like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, well, I listened to it. And it's like, listening is good, but it's not near as good as reading it, and buying the paper copy. Because if you're trying to learn something buying a physical copy, having a pen in your hand, underlining important parts that are teaching you something, making notes in the margins, like use the book as a learning tool and be focused and build something that you can reference back at your highlights and have a resource for yourself. But when you're just driving down the road listening, like that's better than not, but it's not as good as reading a book. There's a powerful difference, because you'll be driving along. It's just like, when you drive home, a lot of times you can get home and not even remember the drive you just went on because it's so automatic. We're just so habitual. And if you're listening, there's a lot of times that 5 minutes will go by and you won't pay attention to what was being said, and you might have missed something really important. But if you're reading a book with a pen in your hand and thinking and writing and highlighting, that helps your brain absorb so much more.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I just finished the Bible recap, and then you're still reading it because you didn't start until the middle of the year, last year.
Yeah.
And so you're still going, but so many people do the Bible recap on their phone, either through the podcast or through the reading plan. And like you said, that's better than nothing for sure.
Better than
but
nothing.
I do think it's really great to get it in your hands and be able to highlight it.
Yeah.
And for your kids to actually see you reading it each day. And I don't know, I just think you learn more when you have a paper copy.
You do.
So that is one of our goals for this year, was how many books we want to read. And I think you need to set that as an achievable goal, something that you can hit, but something that maybe you have to push yourself a little for. I actually think that with all goals. I told our kids yesterday, it needs to be achievable, but it needs to make you push. And I tell my agents this too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, helping your kids with goals, helping anybody with goals. One of the popular acronyms with goals is isn't it SMART goals? Is that one of the popular acronyms?
I think so.
SMART.
SMART.
Yeah. And I don't know that I can remember the exact acronyms, but is it specific? Mm-hmm. And then measurable? Mm-hmm. And what's the A?
I don't know.
Actionable?
I don't know.
Maybe it's actionable, I think. And then what's the R? I don't think it's reachable.
We should have looked
Is it
this
reachable?
up before we did this.
And then the T is like a time frame.
Well, Brian Buffini always says this because he said the best goal of all time was in 1969.
What's that?
He says the best goal of all time was set by NASA when they said we want to get to the moon and return safely home by the end of the century, the end of the decade.
Yeah.
And he said that was actionable, specific, exactly what they wanted to do, and it gave a deadline.
Yeah, so like the gist of it, and this would be something to kind of help you guys, is the goal has to be specific, number one. So if you want to, let's say you want to lose some weight, you wouldn't write a goal that says, I want to lose weight.
Right.
It would be, I want to lose 10 pounds. It would be, I want to lose 20 pounds. It would be specific.
Well, you've got to be able to measure it.
Yeah.
And for our kids, we tried to not really we tried not to hammer them too much. They could set their goals, but if it's like our daughter was like, I want to get better at basketball.
Right.
Well, how do you track that? How do you measure that?
Right.
So really a good goal would be okay, well, what determines if you get better at basketball?
Yes.
So
maybe it's a number of points per game, something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's how you would think it through, because sometimes a general idea will come to your mind, but then you need to kind of get it more specific.
Right. And real estate goals are fairly easy because you can actually state how many houses do you want to sell next year?
Yeah.
How much production do you want to do, and how much do you want to make? So those are very actionable, achievable goals. And then you can work backwards of, okay, now how do I get there? Because it doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do things to actually lead up to getting these results.
Yeah, and I don't know if the A is it like an action plan in that acronym? I can't remember the acronym, but part of the process is once you get a specific goal that you can measure, you have to build a plan to actually achieve that goal. What do you need to do? If you're trying to lose weight, as an example, you need to meal prep. Well, are you going to cook your meals or are you going to buy your meals? If you're going to play basketball and get 10 points a game and you're only getting 5, what do you have to do to get to 10? Maybe you need to shoot more free throws, or you know what I'm saying? There has to be some kind of an action. And then there's got to be a time frame on it, like a deadline. There's one of the sayings, like a goal without a deadline is just kind of a wish, something like that. Like you have to have deadlines because they push you. to get things done in a timely manner.
Something that we did is categorize our goals. So, like, we would have, here's my health goals, here's my spiritual goals, here's my work goals. And when you categorize, especially as an adult, I don't think for kids they necessarily need to do that. But for adults, I do think that's helpful because I have like 25 goals.
Yeah.
But I broke them into categories. That way I can look at each category and keep on track with my goals. So definitely each year we list out how many books we want to read. We list out how we want to do at work, whether that's how much in sales we want to do, how much we want to earn. That's really important, especially if you work for yourself, to do that and set those goals and set them that you can achieve them, but they make you push a little bit. Maybe look at what you did last year and try to do a little bit better this year. I do see realtors a lot that are like, okay, I want to sell 20 houses this year. Okay, how many did you sell last year? 5. How are you going to get from 5 to 20? That's a really big jump unless you're going to take drastic measures. If you sold 5, maybe you want to sell 10.
Yeah.
You're doubling, but you're not just stretching it so far that it doesn't make any sense and you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, you're not trying to quadruple your current rate of production, you know.
Right.
And I mean, yeah. So that would be tough.
Something we've been talking about a lot too is our health goals, especially as we get older. And when you get older, your health doesn't just come naturally.
No.
You have to work at it, and you actually have to be intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah, like for me, it's like I've lifted weights now for about 20 years, right? I still lift weights 4 days a week, and I love pushing iron around. Like I love a barbell and putting a plate on there and then putting another plate on there and hearing that sound, you know, that they bang together. And my gym is like the barn that Rocky Balboa trained in with the Russian, and it's just wood, no insulation. When it's cold outside, it is cold in there. And I love that. But, you know, what I've not done good at the past several years is I'll just eat everything in sight, you know?
And cardio.
I hate cardio. But as I get older, it's like, oh, that's pretty important to exercise your heart and your lungs, you know. And when I lift heavy weights and stuff, like my heart rate gets up, right? But not like if you go out for a jog or, you know, stuff like that. And so I've got to get more movement, not just moving iron, you know.
Right.
And so that's one of my goals for this year is to jog 4 miles a week, most weeks is what I put. So there's 52 weeks in a year. You know, I'm sure I'm going to miss a week or so here and there. I try not to, but I'm sure I will. But, you know, if I get to the end of the year and I did 45, 47 weeks, mission accomplished for me.
And that should come with losing weight and eating better.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's good. You know, last year I wanted to grow spiritually and read the Bible more and educate myself more. And so, okay, well, how do you do that? I could just, you know, open the Bible at random and pick a book and start. And it was like, well, no, we found the Bible recap as a resource, and, you know, it maps it out in chronological order for you. And then it tells you, hey, go read, you know, Isaiah chapter 30 through 33, and you'll go read that for the day. And then she's got a summary of what you just read and kind of puts it into layman's terms, gives you some context of what was going on. It was like, okay, that was a good plan to follow to achieve my goal. And so for all your goals, you've got to set them. They got to be specific. There's got to be a deadline, and then you have to build an action plan of what does it take to actually hit that goal. In my insurance business, if I want to sell a certain amount of car insurance policies and stuff like that, I got to know, okay, how many do I have to quote to sell one? If I got to quote 3 different households to sell one, you know, then I got to just do the math on how many do I want to sell, then times that by 3, you know, to know how many quotes we got to generate, and then that ends up at our number. So that's the way you set goals and accomplish your goals. Yeah.
Yes, and I think it's really important to, if you want to maybe get healthier, I love to challenge myself and do something to help me prepare. So last year I walked a half marathon in the fall, and that gave me something to train toward, because I knew on this date I had to go walk 13.1 miles. And if I would have just said, I'm not even going to train, that would have been really challenging to just go walk for 4 hours straight. So that gave me a goal to work toward. So last year I did a 5K in the spring and I did a half marathon in the fall. Those both kept me moving and kept me working toward a goal. So this year I've set a goal to do 2 half marathons. And so I'm getting ready to schedule those, because when they're on the schedule, you plan for them. And when you plan for them, you train for them. And when you train for them, you're prepared for that day. The day we did that half marathon last fall, I felt so ready, and then it happened to be freezing and windy that day. Of course, the weekend before and the weekend after were beautiful.
Yeah.
But that day it was cold, it was windy. I had to buy a heated vest and like layers of clothes, but we did it. This year, who knows? You never know when you're doing outside things. But I'm gonna sign up for 2, and that's gonna keep me moving toward a goal. And I love having a goal to work toward.
That kind of goes into, like I said, with the New Year's resolutions and setting goals in the new year, creates an artificial reset or reboot, an artificial start over or reboot. Like I said, another tactic you can do is pick some things like you did, commit to them, put them on the calendar, pay the entry fees. And now you're committed, It makes it a lot harder for you to back out.
It does. And if you can find a friend to do it with you, I think that helps too, because someone else is counting on you.
Well, that's the deal too, is like and sometimes you don't want to make those commitments because you kind of like if I don't feel like it, or if this doesn't work out, I don't have to. But those are the mental battles that we have to win, to accomplish our goals. The goals a lot of times will make you a little bit uncomfortable, but finding those events, putting them on the calendar, paying for them, that just it increases your likelihood of not backing out on yourself.
It does.
And helps you. I tell John, like, we work out in the mornings, and this morning we had leg day, and it was lots of squats, hack squats, stuff like that. And then we do a mile run through the pasture. We run from one end of the pasture to the other as a half a mile, and then we come back. And it's dark, we got headlamps on. It's 6:00 in the morning or whatever. And there's gopher hills and stuff like that, and clumps of grass that are tall. So you kind of have to high step with every step. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like just running on the pavement where you don't have to pick your feet up that much. You got to kind of high step. So your legs are just getting toasted, and we're not in shape for running either. So that makes it worse. But he's like, "You sure you want to run?" And I was like, "I absolutely do not want to run." I was like, "But I pre-decided." We pre-decided. I learned that from Craig Groeschel a while back. When you pre-decide, you write it down, you're going to do it, then you're more able to stick to it.
Yeah, and when things are hard, but you do them anyway, it feels so good to complete that goal and say you did it. So maybe pick some things this year that are going to challenge you, you've never done before. Sounds a little bit hard and scary, but you can do it. Like, I'm not going to go sign up for a triathlon,
right?
Because I am not a great swimmer, and I certainly don't want to swim across a lake or bike 100 miles.
Right.
Could I? I probably could make myself, but it would take a lot of training.
Yeah.
But I'm basically saying I'm not going to set myself up for failure.
Right.
But picking something is this going to be a challenge? Yeah. But can I absolutely do it? Yes. And I know when I do it, I'm going to feel proud of myself, and it's going to be great. But pick things that are achievable, that you can do, but that are going to push you to do them.
Yeah, and I'll give you another little bit of advice that helped me. Years ago when I'd first start setting goals, I'd sit down, and I'm kind of a deep thinker, introvert kind of guy, and I'd sit down and I'd have my pen in one hand, the paper, and I wouldn't know what to write, and I'd be like, well, I don't want to write anything down that would be wrong.
Right. And so many people feel
and so
that
I'd
way.
sit there and just think, I'd be like, I want a Lamborghini. It's like, I don't want a Lamborghini, but that's what Instagram tells you, right?
Yeah.
And I would tell you this, what helped me was to mentally tell myself, I'm just going to write down whatever comes to my mind. I don't care if it's silly, it's dumb, unachievable, and I'm just going to write it down. What would I like to do in a perfect world? And just start writing them, right? as you start writing them, they get better and better, and you get more dialed in on realistic stuff.
Yeah.
And when you got your list compiled together, then you can go through your list and go, okay, that's really not important. Neither is that. These are. And you can whittle it down and create a really good goal list for yourself. And then you can create it to where you're going to knock them out in a certain amount of time. So like the next step would be like, for me, what do you want to accomplish in quarter one? And then in quarter two, or what are like really going to take you the whole year to accomplish? And you kind of break up in different timelines.
Oh, I think that's good too. And something that I think is good is to review your goals throughout the year. Like you said, maybe at the end of each quarter, maybe halfway through the year, because some of these you're going to forget about.
You do.
And if you don't review them, you're going to be like, oh, I totally forgot I made that one of my goals. But if you review them each quarter or halfway through the year, you still have time to achieve them.
You know, and what's amazing about that is like, number one, most people never write their goals down. The people that do write their goals down, even if you never look at them again, there's studies after studies that show that you actually end up accomplishing a lot of them.
Because you wrote them down.
And I've got a real life experience of this. Like when I was in agent training internship, they made us make a vision board. Okay, I hate that kind of stuff. Like I don't like stuff like
and
that.
And I love that.
She
kind
loves
of stuff.
that stuff.
And then
but like,
we get married. So
I'm just like, hey, I'm just gonna go work my tail off and create. But we had to create a vision board, right? So you had to get a piece of construction paper, go find items in magazines or print them off, cut them out, that whole deal. Well, you know, I'd put on my vision board. I wanted a big family. Wanted to accomplish these industry-specific awards, and wanted to be a big giver at our church. Wanted to own an office building. Wanted to have a house, whatever it was. And I made that thing, and I put it away, and I think I found it like 8 years later.
Yeah.
And had accomplished everything on that but one item, and was on pace that year to accomplish that one item, and did. Mm-hmm. And so literally checked them all off, but I hadn't looked at it in 8 years.
But you framed it now.
I framed it, and I hung it up in my office now to where it's a constant reminder. And that's just proof that, like, even if you don't review your goals well or follow through, just the act of writing them down increases your chances of achieving them. And then one guy said too, if your goals are really lofty and you're shooting for the moon, but you miss, you still land amongst the stars. And it's like, that's pretty solid advice too.
Yeah.
You know,
I would rather aim high than aim super low and not fulfill my potential.
Yeah.
And for our kids too. It's like one of our kids, it's like, I want to win state in wrestling. Well, that's a big goal.
right.
But if you want to make that your goal, like, work your tail off and do your best.
Yeah.
And even if you don't hit that goal, at least you tried your hardest, and you're probably going to obtain a higher placing because you were trying to win first.
Yes, that's true. So there's some balance there of not making your goal so high it's unrealistic, but making a goal that pushes you a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so now if you have long-term goals, like a 5-year goal or 10-year, you can make that a big old lofty goal. But, you know, like you said, don't try to like quadruple your results in 1 year if that's unrealistic, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you were working part-time and you're like, I'm going full-time this year, this is my full-time gig.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do more.
If your circumstances are different.
And then some people are complete opposites. Sometimes I have agents who are like, I want to sell 6 houses this year. I sold 5 last year. It's like, okay, well, let's push ourselves a little more than that.
Yeah.
We already know you can sell 5. So let's give a little bit of a push. So having an accountability partner is great. Speaking your goals out loud is great. Just having someone you can share them with, like our family did with each other.
Yeah.
It can be a business partner or a friend, your spouse. Just having someone that you can say your goals out loud to and to kind of hold you accountable, and just someone else knowing what they are. And like I said, speaking them out loud, that is a big deal.
Yeah, and I tell you what, like for me, I don't know how you felt about it, but I read my goals out to you and the kids, and it's like, all right, the kids know about it now. Little added pressure that I keep
Well, they remember those things.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, Benaiah will be like, Dad, did you da da
He
da
will
da da?
too.
He will call you
Oh,
out.
he'll call me out. And so it's like, okay, I just, I don't want to let them down. I don't want to be a bad example.
Right.
I want to be a good example and set that. So, maybe that's another strategy you can do to help you with an accountability of you say your goals out loud and to somebody else. And if you're not on track, they're going to call you out.
Well, I think to end this podcast, we need to share a Benaiah story.
Which one?
I have a notes section in my phone for him because he just says funny things all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You talking about the game?
Yeah, we got to share this. Last weekend, we went on like a 3-night getaway. We had a wrestling tournament, so we got a lake house and did a little getaway. And one night we were playing charades. And our kids are a little competitive, and they come by that naturally.
And the charades, for those that don't know, or at least what we were playing, the person holds the phone up to their head, and it has a word on it. And the other people at this point were acting it out, right?
Yes.
And so then you had to guess what it was, but you can't see the word, And
we were broken up into 2 teams, so
Yeah.
there's going to be a winner. Well, Baker goes, and he didn't get any of them right.
Yeah, he was the one guessing. Benaiah was acting.
Right.
Other people were acting.
And Baker was upset, of course, so he kind of went in the other room for a little while. And I told Benaiah, Benaiah, you need to be nice to Baker when he walks in and tell him you're sorry for being mean to him. Because, of course, he was like, I can't believe you didn't get any right. How'd you do that? And so I told Benaiah and Bowen both, be nice to Baker when he walks in and say you're sorry.
Yeah.
So Baker comes back in the room. I said, okay, boys, tell him you're sorry. And Bowen says, sorry, Baker. And Benaiah says, sorry, but do better next time. And me, you,
Oh, I just had to
and
turn
my
away.
mom
I
and
couldn't hold it
Dad
together.
die laughing.
Oh,
Like,
he's serious.
we cannot contain ourselves.
It's a backhanded apology. Sorry, but do better next time. It's like,
So I had to put that in my notes section.
Yeah.
Of Benaiah's funny sections, or funny sayings. So you can think about that. And
well, there's more to that story.
better.
So we got Baker to come play another round.
oh, yes.
Yeah. And, after he was, crying downstairs or whatever he was doing, he was upset.
Mm-hmm.
And so he played another round. Well, the next round, he got 1 right. And Benaiah was like, well, it's better than 0.
1 is better than 0.
It's like, gosh, Benaiah, let up a little bit. He's just hammering him.
There's no lightening up.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 0 is better. 1 is better than 0.
Yeah, 1's better than 0.
And Baker also determined that he's not a great guesser, but he's a good actor.
Yeah, he
so
is.
he's going to be on the acting side more than the guessing side.
Yeah.
So just a funny story. We've always got funny stories to share, and we know you guys can relate.
Yeah.
So set your goals, find an accountability partner, set your goals attainable, yet make them push you. Go forth and prosper.
Yeah. Write them down.
Write your goals down.
Yes. All right. Till next time.
See you next time.